It cannot be overstated the importance of testing out your backpacking gear before getting out in the field. As you can see behind me, I've got a tent loaded with gear. We are testing out a bunch of different sleep systems tonight, just trying out some different combinations and testing out some new gear just to kind of see what kind of temperatures we can extend a lot of this summer rated backpacking gear down into as we get into the colder months. Now you may be asking yourself, why is it actually important to test out your gear? And the answer is pretty simple. Testing out your gear at home before you get out in the field is going to give you a really good idea and a really good understanding of how to set up that gear, how to use that gear, and how the gear is going to perform. When you think about the application of a lot of this gear, it's really important to know how this gear is going to perform when you get out there in a real world situation. A lot of times we're going to be possibly hundreds of kilometers away from our vehicles at the time that we're using this gear. So it's really important to know how this gear is going to perform when we get out there. A big benefit testing out our gear at home gives us is it gives us the ability to set up our gear in sort of more ideal conditions so we can, check everything and make sure all the parts are working, make sure all the parts are there, make sure we know how to assemble everything properly. The tent here has actually been set up in my yard for a few hours. I set it up first thing in the morning. I've set up a MSR Hubba Hubba tent up probably hundreds of times, so I know exactly how the parts work, but it's still really important, to get out in the daylight, make sure all your gear is set up. That way, you're not scrambling in the dark, you're not missing parts, you're not losing parts and, potentially wrecking something or breaking your gear. And you want to know how this gear is going to set up, you want to know how it's going to perform. Setting it up in the daylight gives you the best chance to achieve that. Now, there's lots of gear I'm testing out tonight. We've got a couple different sleeping pads and a bunch of different top quilts. The two primary pieces of gear that I am most excited for, and I'm sort of mostly doing this testing just to test out these two pieces of gear. The first one is the Moon Dance 25 quilt by Featherstone. Now, realistically, this is closer to a 30-degree comfort rated quilt. So this is going to be more like a summer rated top quilt for you. It's pretty standard top quilt features. It's got the zippered foot box, it's got snaps, it's got pad straps, it's got baffles at the end. What differentiates this from a lot of other top quilts out there is the price. This is a more budget rated top quilt. Now, quality-wise, this is comparable to like your UGQ, your Enlightened Equipment, your hammock, your top quilts, but at a much more budget-friendly price point. You're going to be using this in conjunction with a couple of our other sleep setups that we're going to be testing out tonight, just to see how far we can push these summer-rated sleep systems down into the winter conditions. Now, the primary reason that we are doing this gear testing tonight is to test out the sleep setup or sleep system we have laid out in front of me. This is the ZenBivy Lightbed 10. This is just a super cool, awesome modular system. And when I call it a modular system, you can use the ZenBivy Light Quilt as a standalone top quilt. So if you're familiar with using top quilts, it works just the same. Or you can combine it with the light sheet. Your quilt is completely hooked up to the sheet. You've got these flaps that come up the side that'll block any drafts. You've got this huge poofy hood. And we're going to be combining that with the ZenBivy Light mattress as well. Really cool mattress design, very, very comfortable. It's got an R value, they say, of 5. So we're going to be putting that to the test tonight. As I'm filming this here, my hands are getting pretty cold, and I'm pretty sure I hit kind of all the points on the ZenBivy Light Bed and the Featherstone quilt I want to talk about. So I'm going to bounce inside and do some dad stuff around the house, and we will come back out here, when it's closer to bedtime and starting to get settled in, and then start our testing. Temperatures have dropped. It's now about -15 Celsius. It's about 8:30. I'm about to crawl into bed here. So I'm literally just going to run up, shut the patio light off, and crawl into bed and see how this setup goes. All settled in, and first thing I'm going to say about the ZenBivy Light Bed is it is roomy. It's probably not showing up all that well on camera here, but just there's so much room inside this thing. It is awesome. They say it's the closest thing to a bed you can get in the backcountry, and yeah, I believe it. So off to my side, I've got the Nemo pad, got my Enlightened Equipment quilt underneath there, got a synthetic throw blanket, I've got the Featherstone quilt here next to me. Just gear I'll probably be swapping out at some point, but for now, trying out the ZenBivy Lightbed 10. So far so good. I mean, I'm warmed up already. I've only been in here for maybe 5 minutes, but already warmed up. So I'm going to put a hockey game on. The Oilers are playing tonight, so I'm gonna watch the hockey game and yeah, enjoy. Well, good morning. full disclosure, it's not first thing in the morning. I've been up since about 6:30. It's about 10 in the morning right now. I got up and I had to do dad stuff. You know, I had to get the little guy fed and changed and do all the morning routine stuff. So I didn't get a chance to kind of film how the night went first thing in the morning. I was previously occupied, but I did make it through the night. Obviously, I survived. Stayed extremely warm and comfortable in the setup. Just honestly, I didn't even really need anything with the Zambivvi bag. I used the synthetic quilt and the Featherstone quilt inside, and it was too warm. I ended up taking them out. Overnight lows last night, the coldest I saw at about 3 in the morning, it was sitting at about -20 Celsius, so pretty close to 0 Fahrenheit. Pretty chilly evening, but we got through the night last night. And the Oilers won last night, so you know we're playing La Bamba first thing this morning. So for me, I got everything I wanted to out of this testing night. You know, I got to test out a new setup for winter camping. I was pretty confident I knew how it was going to perform, but needed to see it myself before I would, you know, take it out and practice it in the field. So next step, obviously, we're going to have to get out in the backcountry and use this setup on a winter backpacking trip sometime in the new year, hopefully, with some of the boys. But with all that said, I got to take all this gear inside, get it hung up, get all the condensation dealt with, any moisture issues. There's probably some moisture in the quilts. It's just one of those things that's going to happen. So I got to get all the gear taken inside, get that dealt with. Now, if you guys are looking at doing some winter backpacking or winter camping yourself, I recently shot a video on cheap winter camping gear, and I'll put that right here for you. So check the video out when you're done with this one. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. As always, I'm Matty. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.